Last week I watched 7 movies starting with the letter I, and here's what I thought of all of them. If you're new to the series, each week I am taking a different letter of the alphabet and watching movies that start with that letter. Usually recommendations by you all, but some that are a little bit crowdsourced from the internet. This is one to expand my own movie horizons, but mostly to get better about logging movies on Letterboxd. Now, 7 is a little bit more than I normally did, and I in fact think I started more than 7 that started with an I, but then I forgot about them probably along the way. But you all had so many recommendations for the letter I that it was honestly just like really hard to cut it down. And also, admittedly, there were only 2 that I hadn't seen before from your recommendations and from my own sourcing. So the first movie that I hadn't seen before is Inglourious. I'm not sure, I keep things PG, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that second word, but you know what the movie is. I will say I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie. I consider this movie to be like one of those every dad loves this movie kind of productions, and so going into those, it can always go like a variety of different ways. I'm also a little bit hit or miss when it comes to Tarantino movies. We can unpack that later, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really good balance of humor and action, and also quite a bit of like surprise still in there. Like there were some times where I was like, oh, that's not where I thought I was gonna go. So I really enjoyed it. If you're on the fence about watching this movie, I would definitely say give it a chance. The other movie I hadn't seen before, or at least I hadn't seen before all the way through, is The Internship. I do distinctly remember that on Tumblr, the like Dylan O'Brien as this character was used in a lot of different ways. People were obsessed, so totally fair. I think it was an odd watch in 2025, right? Like, I feel like Google has gone a lot of like new places, and just generally the tech world seems very different, right? But maybe I'm just like too far removed. It did feel very like peak millennial core with the Quidditch scene and just like the entire vibe of the movie, essentially. Truly, I probably would have ranked it higher had there not been the entire club scene, which I just thought was a little uncomfortable. But now onto movies that I've seen before, and I will say that these are probably the heavy hitters amongst the group. The first obvious I movie is Interstellar, and I have to confess to everybody that my first watch of Interstellar ever was on a plane trip. So I have since experienced it on much bigger screens, but the fact that it was still incredible that first time I watched it on a tiny screen, I think, just speaks to it. Like I think the entire scene where Matthew McConaughey is like looking through the videos that his children submitted, it breaks me every time. I just think it's an incredible movie. When he's in the like place with all the lines, and that's where he's moving the bookcases. I'm still not like 100% sure what's happening there, but I still love the movie nonetheless. I also did a rewatch of Inception. I've watched Inception a couple of different times, so this was just kind of like a fun rewatch. It's one of those movies where you're like, I wish I could watch it for the first time again, you know? I think it's really good. I think it's an incredible concept. And obviously is like so embedded into cult. Like I say like Inception just as like a reference all the time. So I think it's a great movie. I think these obviously stacked cast. I love the layers to it. It's definitely a movie you have to like sit and pay attention to. Like you can't really miss a part of it. So I guess that's the only potential way you could dock it. But I love that kind of experience. I also rewatched Tonya. I love Margot Robbie, so I've seen most of Margot Robbie's stuff. When I first watched this, I was not expecting to enjoy it so much. I was kind of like, oh, I'm worried about, you know, like women versus women. And that's not at all the case in this movie. I think it does a beautiful job of depicting like what people were saying about Tonya Harding at the time, and also what her experience was. And I think the ending is absolutely beautiful. If you haven't seen this movie, I absolutely recommend it. And the ice skating is incredible. I am just constantly in awe of the athleticism of ice skaters, so peak movie. Also the like one movie where I just have so much anger towards Sebastian Stan. I also had like recently rewatched Independence Day, so I counted it in this grouping of things. Nostalgia walk. If you go through my letterbox, you'll know that a lot of my nostalgia watches get higher rated just because I'm like, I accept no criticism. But yeah, I think this is the 4th of July movie that you have to watch. And I think like they really should have capitalized more on the Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum like partnership in more movies, is my take on the matter. This is also peak Jeff Goldblum. That's all I gotta say. And the last movie I did a rewatch of was The Invitation. Someone mentioned that in the comments, and then after I watched this one, I realized that there are 2 movies called The Invitation, and I'm not 100% sure that I watched the correct one. So I watched the more recent one that's about vampires, which I have seen before, and I stand by the fact that I just feel like this movie was targeted at the wrong audience. I think it really would have gone more, like, I think it would have done better and been received better if it had been kind of more pushed towards like a gothic romance kind of audience instead of like, this is a pure horror movie, because a good chunk of the movie is not horror. It's like, honestly, the last, like, maybe even 30 minutes might be generous, is where it really kind of gets into that. But the first, like, hour or so is more that romance, but, like, tension building kind of romance. I think they should have marketed it better. Overall, it's still just like an okay movie. It's not like one that I'm mad about rewatching, but it's not one that I go seek out, right? So please leave your recommendations in the comments for movies that start with the letter J. That seems like it's going to be a little bit harder than I, but we will see.